For today's video tutorial, I will be showing you how to make these beautiful almond stitch squares using Lion Brand's Heartland, which is a number 4 worsted weight yarn. You will need a 5.5 millimeter crochet hook or whatever hook you use to meet gauge to get started on today's project. Today I will also show you how we create this beautiful invisible seam using the mattress stitch to put together our checkerboard picnic blanket. For my checkerboard picnic blanket, I have chosen to use the color Acadia and Mammoth Cave. All right, so let's get started. The first instruction that you have for this pattern is to chain 29. So I'm going to create a slip knot, place it on my hook, pull it tight but not too tight, and I am going to create 29 chain stitches. Once you have your 29 chain stitches, you are going to move on to the row 1 instructions. For row 1, what we will do is we are going to slip stitch in the second chain from the hook. Now, I would highly recommend that you work in the back bumps. So this is the top of your chain that creates these beautiful V's, and then this is the back of your chain. If I turn it to the side, you could see these back bumps. Those are the stitches that I recommend you work in. So row 1, we are going to count, the chain on our hook does not count as a stitch. This back bump is the first chain, this is the next chain. So this is the second chain from the hook. We are going to slip stitch into that stitch by placing our hook through the stitch, yarning over, pulling up a loop, and then pulling it through the loop on our hook. That creates our first slip stitch. We are going to create 4 of those. After we create our first 4 slip stitches, we are now going to create 4 half double crochet using the back bumps the same way that we did for our slip stitches. Then in the next 4 stitches, we will do another set of slip stitches, and we will continue repeating that all the way across until we reach the end, where we will be ending with 4 slip stitches. So I'm coming here to my last 4 chains where I'm going to place my final set of slip stitches, and that will complete row 1. So row 1 will start and end with 4 slip stitches. So that is very important to make sure that you start and end the same on every row moving forward. Moving on to row 2, we are going to turn our work and we are going to create a stacked single crochet in this slip stitch. So throughout the pattern, we are working in the back loops except for the first and the last stitch, and that is to help create a nice clean edge on your squares so that you can work your border piece. To create a stacked single crochet, what we are going to do is we are going to insert our hook through both loops of the first slip stitch of row 1 to begin row 2. You are going to yarn over, pull up a loop so that you have 2 loops on your hook, yarn over, and pull through both as if you're creating a regular single crochet. To stack a single crochet, what we need to do is come into this second bar right here, insert our hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, and pull through both. And essentially what this is doing is it's creating 2 single crochet on top of each other to match the height of our half double crochet stitches going forward. Working in both loops again is going to make it so that we have this nice clean edge. So in these next 3 slip stitches from row 1, we are going to work 3 half double crochet using the back loop only. So if you look, this is the top of your stitch. We are working only in this stitch. So yarn over, insert your hook into the back loop of the next slip stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, and pull through all loops to create a half double crochet in the back loop only. Repeat that 2 more times, so you now have a total of 4 stitches at the beginning of row 2. Now we are going to slip stitch in the back loop only in the next 4 stitches. Then we are going to half double crochet in the back loop only of the next 4 stitches. And then we will repeat that all the way across, placing 4 half double crochet in the back loop only where you have slip stitches and 4 slip stitches in the back loop only where you have half double crochet stitches. So row 2, you are working your stitches opposite of row 1. Here I'm coming to my last 4 stitches, which were slip stitches in row 1, and so they are going to be half double crochet in the back loop only for row 2. The first 3 will be back loop only. This last one, I highly recommend working through both loops again to make sure that you have a nice, secure, and clean edge. Moving on to row 3, we are going to turn, and again we will place a stacked single crochet using both loops in the first stitch of row 2, and then we are going to half double crochet using the back loops only in each of the next 3 half double crochet stitches of row 2. Next we will place 4 slip stitches using the back loops only in each of the next 4 slip stitches from row 2, and then we will place 4 half double crochet using the back loops only in each of the next 4 half double crochet of row 2. We will then repeat that all the way across using the back loops only and placing our slip stitches in our slip stitches and our half double crochet in our half double crochet of row 2 to complete row 3. Coming to my last 4 stitches, which are half double crochet, I am going to place a half double crochet in the back loop of each of the next 3 half double crochet, and then in the final half double crochet I am going to place my half double crochet in both loops so that this way I can make a nice, clean, and secure edge. Moving on to row 4, I am going to turn, and because we have created our first set of almonds, you see those? We are now going to be switching over from half double crochet to slip stitch. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a slip stitch in the first stitch using both loops of the first stitch. So I'm going to insert my hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, and then pull that loop through the first loop on my hook. Now I'm going to slip stitch in the back loop of each of the next 3 half double crochet stitches from row 3. Now in the next 4 slip stitches from row 3, I am going to place 4 half double crochet using the back loops only. Coming to my next 4 half double crochet, I am going to place 4 slip stitches using the back loops only in the half double crochets of my last row. You are then going to repeat that all the way across, alternating your half double crochet and slip stitch, placing them in their opposite stitches. So half double crochet go in slip stitches and slip stitches go in half double crochet, again only working in the back loops. Coming to the last 4 stitches of row 3 to complete row 4, what we need to do is place 3 slip stitches in each of the next half double crochet using the back loop only, and then place our last slip stitch using both loops of the last stitch. Turn our work, and we are now going to move on to row 5, which is the final repeat for this pattern. So to begin row 5, what we are going to do is we are going to insert our hook through both loops of this first slip stitch and create a slip stitch by yarning over, pulling up a loop, and then pulling that loop through that first loop on our hook. We are then going to slip stitch in the back loop only of each of the next 3 slip stitches from our previous row, and then we are going to place 4 half double crochet using the back loops only in each of the next half double crochet from our previous row. Next, we are coming up to our slip stitches, so we are going to be placing 4 slip stitches in each of the next 4 slip stitches using the back loops only, and then we are going to repeat across for row 5, placing our half double crochet and our half double crochet and our slip stitch and our slip stitch, again only using the back loops. Coming to the last 4 stitches of row 5, we have 4 slip stitches from our previous row, so I'm going to place 3 slip stitches using the back loops only in each of the next stitch, and then I am going to place my final slip stitch through both loops. Now a little tip over here is this is your slip stitch. This is part of this loop here is kind of, I'm not really sure where it comes from. It's part of when you turn, I think. So what I have been doing is instead of going in under both of these because it's kind of hard to pick up, I have been picking up the back loop and this really big loop because it creates a lot of bulk on the side. I'm using that as both stitches. So you'll see that when you're working, there's kind of this little bit of extra yarn from when you turn. So I've been picking up that as well. So You're going to insert your hook over here into this last stitch, yarn over, pull through, and pull through the loop on your hook to create the final slip stitch. And so you can see here that that kind of anchors this bit of extra yarn that shows up. So you want to do that to make sure that this way this edge stays nice and clean. So now I'm going to turn and I will show you, this is the repeat. So you have your row one, which starts and ends with slip stitch. And then rows 2 and 3 both begin with half double crochet to make this first sets of almonds. Then rows 4 and 5 both start with slip stitches to make this second set of almonds. So for the remainder of this pattern, you are going to be repeating rows 2, 3, 4, and 5. So we have now completed our square up to the last row. So we have repeated rows 2 and 5 for a total of 25 rows. So we have our row 1 here, and then we have row 2 and 3, 4 and 5, and then we repeated that all the way up. And I find the easiest way to count these rows to make sure that you are on track is to count them by 2s. So this first almond here is 2, then here is 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, and 24, okay? Plus this one makes it that this last row is your row 25. Now row 26 is noted as row 26 and your trim round. So to do row 26, since row 25 was with slip stitches, we now need to start row 26 the same way that we start row 2 with the stacked single crochet. So after you complete row 25, you are going to turn your work, create your stacked single crochet using both loops in the first stitch, and then you are going to place 3 half double crochet in each of the next 3 stitches using the back loops only. And then you will do your 4 slip stitches using the back loops only of your next 4 half double crochet from the previous row, and then repeat that all the way across, alternating your 4 half double crochet and 4 slip stitches in the back loops only of opposite stitches. Because remember here, what we are doing is just like on the bottom, we want to make this edge nice and flat. We don't want this wavy piece because we are going to trim this. Coming to my last 4 stitches right here, I'm going to create my last 4 half double crochet with the first 3 being in the back loops only, and then my last one using both loops, so that this way we have this nice clean edge down the side. Okay, so that completes row 26, so that you have this nice beautiful almond stitch square. Now what we are going to do is we are going to create a round of single crochet around the outside of this square so that we can seam our squares together nicely. So in order to do that, when you get to the end of row 26, you are going to chain 1. You are then going to turn your square clockwise with your right side still facing so that we can work down this first side in the row ends. In the instructions, what I have stated is to work evenly down the side. Your goal is to have 28 stitches. So across the bottom here, we had a chain of 29, and then we did our slip stitch in the second chain from the hook. So this is a total of 28 stitches. So the goal is to have 28 stitches on each side. That's going to be easy to do on the bottom and the top of your square. The sides, you just have to be really careful about stitch placement, make sure they're easy, and count along the way. What I like to do is I like to work my first stitch in the bar of the half double crochet, so I kind of pick up in the stitch, right? I don't work around it, because if you work around, you're going to create this hole. You want to work kind of in it. So I'll pick up like one leg and maybe another portion of the half double crochet. I'll create my first single crochet stitch, and then I will come over to where I have these slip stitches, and I will pick up in those slip stitches as well. And then I'm going to come into the next row, which is also slip stitches, and I will work in there. So coming up the side, remember we have 20 6 stitches. So if you try to work in each row end, you'll be short 2 stitches. So you're going to want somewhere in there, you're going to want to add an extra 2 stitches to hit your 28 stitches so that you're even down this side. So I'm just going to go and work down, and I'm going to count as I go and do my best to make sure that my stitches are even. And if I see the opportunity along the way to add in one of those extra 2 stitches, I will do that to hit my 28. Okay, so I have my 28 stitches evenly down the side, and I've gotten here to my last stitch. And what we need to do in this last stitch is we need to place a total of 3 single crochet. So we're doing that so that this way we can create a nice corner and be able to turn our work again clockwise so we can work down this side. So this here is our starting chain. These might be a little bit tight to work in, but you should be able to easily enough find your stitches, and again, now work down the side, creating 28 single crochet stitches, which should be fairly easy to do since you could see each one of them and you don't really have to guess where to place your stitches like you do with the row ends. So work your way across, creating 28 single crochet stitches. So I now have my 28 single crochet stitches across the bottom. I am going to place 2 more single crochet in this last stitch for a total of 3 single crochet in this last stitch to create my next corner. And I am going to turn, and we are now going to work down the other side of our square, again using the row ends and doing our best to space our stitches evenly to have 28 single crochet stitches on this side as well. I now have my 28 stitches down this side in my row ends. I'm going to place 2 more single crochet in my last stitch for a total of 3 to create my last corner. I'm going to turn, and now I am back at row 26. So I'm going to work my single crochet across in each stitch for a total of 28 stitches. When I reach the end of this row, I'm going to place 2 more single crochet in the final stitch for a total of 3. I will then cut my yarn and finish off. So I've created my last stitch. I'm going to cut my yarn, pull this through, and then I'm going to weave in this end on my square. All right, so now that we have made all of our squares, we have added our trim round, it is time to start seaming together your blanket. In order to do this, I'm going to show you how to use the mattress stitch to create an invisible seam. This is going to bring these squares together so that they are perfectly aligned and you do not see any sort of seaming here. This is a nice flat seam that does not add any bulkiness to the blanket. You're not going to see anything. It is by far my favorite seaming method. I would highly recommend that before you start seaming your blanket together that you give your squares a light seam blocking, because even though we have the same amount of stitches, when we seam them together, I do it so that we have some of our rows going up this way and some of our rows going this way to give this nice contrast of the textures. So you can see that. See how the almonds are going this way on my white colored square, and on my brown square they're going this way. And that is so that we can achieve that wood grain effect that you have when you have a wooden game board, which is what inspired the design for this blanket. To get started to create an invisible seam, what you will need to do is grab some of your yarn that you have left over. The rule of thumb that I use is for whatever the distance is that I'm going to be seaming. So in this case, I'm just going to be seaming these 2 squares together. You want double the length that you're going. So I'm gonna take my yarn and I'm gonna come here, I'm going to double it, and then I'm gonna add about 50% of that length just to give myself a little bit of wiggle room. I'm gonna come here, I'm going to cut my yarn, grab my darning needle, and an easy trick that I like to use is to bring the yarn over the end of my darning needle like this, pull it nice and tight, pop the needle out, and then I can very easily pop my yarn through and thread it. See how easy that was? Okay, so I'm going to pull my yarn through. I'm not gonna go totally halfway, I'm gonna leave a little bit so that this way I don't get caught. And we are now going to start using this mattress seam method that creates an invisible seam. To start, what we are going to do is with our square on the right, we are going to come to our corner stitches right here. Using our darning needle, we are going to come from front to back in this corner stitch using the back loop only, and then we are going to go from back to front in the next stitch using the back loop only. That will create this nice little X over your darning needle. Pull your yarn through, making sure to leave a little bit of a tail that you have to hold on to tighten your seam as well as to weave in later. Come over to your square on the left and doing the same thing from front to back in the back loop only. Put your darning needle through a corner stitch, coming from back to front in the next stitch using the back loop only. Bring your darning needle through. Again, that's creating this nice little X over your darning needle. It's kind of harder to see on the darker yarn. And pull your needle through. Now we're going to come back to our square on the right side, and using the same back loop as the last stitch that we worked, we are going to insert our darning needle from front to back, come into the next stitch from back to front, again creating this nice little X over our darning needle, and pull our yarn through. We will move back to the square on the left using the same stitch that we worked last. Insert our darning needle from front to back, come into the next stitch using the back loop only, again coming from back to front, create this nice little X over our darning needle, and pull our yarn through. We are going to keep repeating that all the way across, moving from our right square to our left square, always working from front to back in the last worked stitch in the back loop only, and then coming from back to front into the next stitch using the back loop only, making sure that we create these little X's over our darning needle. And what we're essentially doing is creating a figure eight. So here I come back onto my left side. I'm going to insert my needle from front to back and then back to front using the back loops only. I need to pull my yarn through my darning needle a little bit more because I'm starting to get caught. And as you can see, we're kind of doing this figure eight serpentine type of thing right here. Coming back to the right side, front to back, back to front. Create our little X, pull the yarn through, coming back to the right, front to back, back to front. Again, always starting with the last worked stitch, front to back, back to front, creating our little X in the back loop only, and we end up with this, okay? Now what's going to happen, check this out, okay? I'm going to hold this and we are going to just pull this tight. See that? How good was that? And then see, now my tail got really long because I pulled from both sides. So now what I could do is I could pull this all the way through. You see that? Until I get to a point where I feel like this is good, where I'll be able to come in and finish this off nicely here. And then I can keep going. See? You can barely, you don't even see it, okay? So let's keep going on this. So I did my last stitch here on my right side. So I'm gonna come to my left. I'm gonna find my last worked stitch on my left side, front to back, next stitch, back to front, creating this little X over my needle, pull through. Next stitch on the right side, front to back, back to front, creating that little X. Again, making sure only to use the back loops. Come back to the left side, last work stitch, front to back to front. Right side, last worked stitch, front to back to front in the next. And I'm just going to keep doing that again through a whole bunch of stitches. Once you get the hang of this, it's really, really easy to do. See, I've got these right here. Ready? Magic, right? How cool is that? Isn't that amazing? Look at that. See, and it's nice and strong. You can't see anything. So this is a great technique. I love using this for my seaming method. This is my seaming method of choice. I use this wherever possible. That is why it's always really nice to add a single crochet edge or some sort of edging to your pieces, so that this way you can get this nice clean edge. And look, it's got no bulk. It's invisible on the back and on the front. You can't even feel it. It's got a little bit of stretch to it, but not too much. Again, that's another reason why it's a good idea for you to block these first, so that this way you don't pinch all your squares together. And then once you really get going, you can put together your beautiful checkerboard blanket. When you reach a corner, you are going to just jump right on over to your next set of squares. So you'd do these two, you'd get to this end, and whichever side you finish on, you will then jump over. So if you finish on the left side, you will then jump over to the right for your next square, and then add in the square on the left and work your way up, and these corners will come in nicely. And then when you seam this way, you can pull these in together so that you get these nice clean joins where you have 4 squares meeting. Another nice thing that I like about using this joining method is that you can get these corners to line up really nicely. So if you want, you don't even have to do a trim round on the blanket itself. All right, I hope that this tutorial was helpful. I hope that you learned something today and that you enjoy making your checkerboard picnic blanket. And make sure to like and subscribe so that this way you never miss any of my free patterns or video tutorials.